I want you to picture the standard marriage counseling experience for a second.
Oh, yeah, the classic setup.
Right. The drill, beige walls, maybe a ficus plant in the corner, a box of tissues on the table. You sit down, and the therapist looks at you over their glasses and says something like, "So tell me how that made you feel."
Exactly. It's very safe, it's contained, and, well, it's very much focused on the emotional interior of the relationship.
Yeah. Now, I want you to take that image, balls it up, and just throw it straight into a construction site.
A literal construction site.
Because today, for this deep dive, we are looking into a stack of documents from an organization called IAM Love Builders. And let me tell you, this is not your average "let's learn to communicate better" pamphlet.
Not even close. We've been looking at their website, their strategic roadmap, and what they call their MVP documentation.
Right.
And while the stated goal is absolutely healthy marriage, the method looks a lot less like therapy and honestly a lot more like urban planning.
It is wild. We aren't just talking about date nights here. We are talking about land acquisition, vocational training centers, and literal farming.
Yeah, farming out in Denver, Colorado.
Right, they're based in Denver. But before we get to the tractors and what they call the Kingdom Ranch, and we will absolutely get there, we have to start with the hook. Because the way they pitch this service is fascinatingly pragmatic.
It really is. It's actually one of the most specific value propositions I've seen in this entire space.
So usually, you sell marriage advice on happiness. You say be happier or feel more loved. But IAM Love Builders leads with a totally different angle. They explicitly target seven-figure income earners.
High net worth individuals.
Exactly. And they're pitched to you. Divorce-proof your marriage to save millions in divorce court.
It is a massive pivot from emotional well-being to pure asset protection. And honestly, for their target demographic, it's an incredibly effective hook.
It sounds almost cold, doesn't it? Like, honey, we need to stop fighting because the legal fees will just be astronomical.
It sounds cold to the romantic, maybe. But think about the reality for a high net worth individual. If you are earning seven figures or you've built a massive business, a divorce is not just a heartbreak.
Right.
It is a liquidity event. It shreds assets. It splits companies. It can literally bankrupt a family legacy.
That's so true. A CEO getting divorced is a board-level issue.
Exactly. So by framing relationship health as divorce-proofing, the founders, Casper and Cheryl Stockham, are speaking the exact language of their ideal client. They are validating the financial anxiety that comes with marital strife.
They're basically saying you insure your car, you insure your business assets.
Why is your biggest partnership uninsured?
Love is risk management. I kind of like it. It really takes the fluff out of the whole thing.
It does. It elevates the marriage from a private emotional affair to a foundational business partnership, one that requires strategic infrastructure. And that word infrastructure is really key to understanding everything else they're doing.
Because if you view marriage as a high-stakes asset, you don't just fix it with a weekly Zoom call. You need a whole system.
Precisely.
Let's talk about the people building this system, who are Casper and Cheryl Stockham. Because reading through their bios, they don't seem like your typical clinical psychologists.
No, they aren't therapists in the traditional clinical sense. They are broadcasters. The source material highlights that they are award-winning Christian television producers and authors.
Okay, so their background is media.
Right. They've been doing this for over 18 years, equipping couples, but their core DNA is definitely media and production.
Which explains so much about the materials we're looking at today. The branding, the acronyms, the overall polish. It feels very produced.
Highly produced. They really understand messaging. Traditional therapy can feel sterile or awkward for some people. The Stockhams present marriage coaching as a lifestyle brand. Their stated core philosophy is building Christ-centered marriages designed to leave a lasting legacy.
And they call themselves architects of affection.
Yes, which is a fantastic tagline.
It really is. Architects of affection implies they're building something from the ground up, not just patching holes in a sinking ship.
And that leads us right into their core methodology. They use this acronym across all their materials, MVP.
Now, being a huge sports fan, I see MVP and I immediately think most valuable player. The star of the team.
And they absolutely lean into that sports metaphor. They want you to win. But in the IAM Love Builders Dictionary, MVP stands for Most Valued Partner, or sometimes Most Valuable Partner.
It's interesting because the word partner is such a loaded word. It's romantic, sure, like my partner in life.
Yeah.
But it's also strictly business.
It perfectly bridges the gap. If you view your spouse as your most valued partner, you treat them with the same deference, strategy, and respect you would treat a co-founder of a startup.
Which is a huge shift from how people usually treat their spouses after, say, 10 years of marriage. Usually it's more like, hey, did you remember to load the dishwasher?
Right, complacency sets in. But in business, you know your partner can walk away if the deal goes bad. You have to continually provide value to keep the partnership profitable.
So they treat complacency like a breach of contract almost.
Essentially, yes. They state their goal is to deepen commitment, strengthen communication, and turn couples into marriage and relationship champions.
So practically speaking, how do you and I become champions? What are the actual tools in this MVP toolkit?
Well, sticking to their media roots, it's a very multi-channel approach. They don't just hand you a worksheet and send you home. They invite you into a digital ecosystem they call the MVP Love Hub.
The Love Hub. I have to be honest, when I first read that, it sounded a little like a dating site.
I can totally see that. But it's positioned as a free community hub. Think of it more like a private social network or a professional development community.
Okay, so who is in this hub?
The documents describe it as a place to connect with like-minded, Jaido-D-centered individuals on the same relationship journey.
That phrase, God-centered, pops up a lot. We need to address the worldview here so listeners have the full picture. This is an explicitly faith-based organization, right?
It is undeniably a Christian framework. They talk constantly about kingdom building and Christ-centered marriages.
But they also thread a pretty delicate needle here, because the source material also explicitly states they aim to provide counseling ensuring people of all faiths and position achieve healthy relationships.
It's that broadcaster mindset again. You want the widest possible audience. You don't want to alienate the secular seven-figure earner who just wants to save their assets. But the Love Hub itself serves a very strategic psychological purpose.
Which is what?
One of the biggest killers of modern marriage is isolation. You think your problems are entirely unique. You think you're the only ones fighting about money or intimacy.
So the hub is about normalizing the struggle.
Normalizing and peer reinforcement. If you are surrounded, even digitally, by other high-net-worth couples who are actively prioritizing their marriage, it becomes your new normal. It creates positive peer pressure.
In addition to the hub, they also list online and offline mentoring workshops, retreats, podcasts, and TV shows.
Right, a full media diet.
Okay, so we have the digital community, we have the asset protection mindset, but this is where today's deep dive gets truly wild. We really need to talk about their strategic roadmap.
The 20-year vision.
Yeah, most business plans for a relationship coach are like launch a podcast, write a book, maybe do a speaking tour. The Stockhams have a 20-year roadmap that reads like they are playing SimCity.
It really does. They have laid out a massive long-term expansion plan for IAM Love Builders International. It unfolds in 3 distinct phases, and this is exactly where we move from fixing marriages to literally building a civilization.
Let's start with Phase I. This is their 2 to 5 year plan. They call it the Kingdom Campus.
Right, so imagine a physical campus location, not just an office suite in a strip mall. They plan to build a media and TV podcast platform with a full production department and social media promotion arm.
Which totally makes sense given their 18 years in broadcasting. They want their own studio?
Sure, content creation is the engine. But on the exact same campus, they also list ministry office space, worship service facilities, and an event center.
Okay, so it's a church and media hybrid at this point.
But then you get to the educational aspect. They explicitly detail plans for a vocational training center and a homeschool training center.
This is where I got stuck reading the sources.
Yeah.
If I'm hiring you to help me communicate better with my wife, why are you building a vocational training center?
It's such a great question. And it forces us to look at how they define the word legacy.
Right.
If your ultimate goal is asset protection and dynasty building, then the marriage is just the head of the snake. The children are the tail. If you have a strong marriage, but your kids share none of your values, or they can't function in the economy, or they just drift away.
The legacy fails anyway.
Exactly.
So the Homeschool Training Center is about insulating the next generation.
It suggests a full stack approach to family management. They don't just want to fix the conflict between the parents, they want to provide the infrastructure for how the children are educated and how they eventually enter the workforce. They are trying to control all the variables.
Full stack family management. That is a terrifying and fascinating phrase.
It's all about alignment. If you are trying to build a Christ-centered legacy, sending your kids to a standard public school that might teach contrary values is a massive risk factor to that legacy. So the Stockhams are essentially saying, we'll just build the school too.
It's incredibly ambitious. And the crazy part is, that's just phase 1. Phase 2 takes us out of the campus and out into the wild,
The Kingdom Ranch.
the ranch. According to the documents, they're looking to acquire 40 to 100 acres of land.
Which is a very serious physical footprint.
It is. And in the 5 to 10-year window, the focus shifts from education and daily media to serious hospitality. They mentioned building a large event conference center and B&B rental units.
This is the immersion phase. If phase 1 is about the daily tools and the podcasts, phase 2 is the deep reset,
It's like a massive retreat center.
but scaled way up. Think about it. If you are that 7-figure couple and you are right on the brink of divorce, a 1-hour counseling session on a Tuesday afternoon isn't going to cut it. You need to be fully extracted from your environment.
You need to go to the ranch.
Right. It's a rehab model, but applied to relationships. You go out to the 100 acres, you stay in one of their B&B units, you disconnect from the stress of your business, the board meetings, the world, and you focus entirely on your most valued partner.
It makes a lot of sense commercially, too. That's a high-ticket item. A weekend or a week at the Kingdom Ranch isn't going to be cheap.
It's a premium product designed for a premium problem. And crucially, it creates a physical anchor for their community. It's not just a website or a hub anymore. It's a real place you can travel to.
It becomes holy ground for their movement.
Precisely.
But then we hit phase 3. This is the 10 to 20-year horizon. And this is the part of the source material that made me put down the papers and just stare at the wall for a minute.
Phase 3 is where the infrastructure officially becomes a lifestyle.
They list efficiency apartments, vegetable and fruit gardens, walking gardens, and hiking trails. But it's the apartments that really get me.
Yes, building efficiency apartments implies long-term residency.
We aren't just visiting the ranch for a weekend anymore. We're moving in.
This is exactly where the vision transitions from marriage coaching to full-blown community building. You could even call it intentional living.
It sounds exactly like a village.
It is a village, a love builder's village. Just think about the life cycle of their ideal client. You start with them in your 40s or 50s, saving your marriage and protecting your assets in phase 1.
Then you go on the deep dive retreats in phase 2.
Right. And now maybe you're retired, your kids are grown, maybe they went to the vocational center. You want to downsize.
And you want to be around people who get it.
Exactly. You want to be surrounded by those like-minded, God-centered individuals we talked about from the Love Hub. You don't want to end up in a regular nursing home or a random condo association.
You want to be on the Kingdom Ranch, tending the vegetable garden, surrounded by the exact community you helped build.
It's a cradle-to-grave ecosystem, or at least marriage-to-grave. They are solving for loneliness in old age just as aggressively as they're solving for conflict in middle age.
It's actually genius, if you really think about the sociology of it. The ultimate way to divorce-proof a marriage is to embed the couple in a physical community that enforces their shared values 24/7. You literally can't drift apart if the whole village is physically holding you together.
That's the true power of it. It's a return to tribal living, but engineered by a modern broadcasting and coaching agency.
Now, there is a giant elephant in the room here. Or maybe a giant wallet.
The funding.
Yes, the money. Buying up to 100 acres in Colorado, building TV studios, event centers, vocational schools, and apartment complexes. This represents tens of millions of dollars in capital expenditure.
Easily tens of millions.
So how does a marriage coaching organization fund a massive urban planning and construction project? Are the coaching fees really that high?
I highly doubt the hourly coaching fees alone cover it, but the source material is actually very transparent about their financial strategy. Throughout these vision documents, there is a recurring, explicit call to action. They state they're actively looking for sponsors and partners for our vision.
So they're out there raising capital.
They are. And this brings us right back to their initial target demographic, the 7-figure earner. Think about the donor funnel they've created here.
Walk me through that.
You are a wealthy individual, your marriage is falling apart, your business assets, your legacy, everything is at massive risk. You come to IAM Love Builders. They use their MVP method. They save your marriage. They save your family. And mathematically, they save your fortune.
I'd be incredibly grateful. And I would trust them implicitly.
You are loyal for life.
Yeah.
So when Casper and Cheryl Stockham come to you and say, hey, we are building a Kingdom Ranch to help thousands more people do exactly what you did, but we need partners for our Phase 2 capital campaign, is your checkbook open?
Probably.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you saved me $5 million in divorce court, donating $100,000 to your building fund feels like an absolute bargain.
Exactly. The client seamlessly becomes the partner. It perfectly aligns the financial incentives. By framing the entire project as kingdom building, they also tap into religious philanthropy, which is a massive market.
They aren't just asking for a real estate investment. They're asking you to invest in a spiritual legacy.
Right. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. The success of the coaching breeds the capital required for the expansion.
And it reinforces the community, too.
Yeah.
If you help fund the Kingdom Ranch, you feel a sense of ownership. You're going to want to retire there in phase 3. You're going to want your kids to use the facilities.
It challenges the entire definition of what a service business is. They aren't just serving clients, they're genuinely trying to create a closed-loop culture.
I want to zoom out for a second as we wrap up. We've talked a lot about the ranch, the land acquisition, and the buildings, but for the listener who is, say, sitting in traffic right now, who probably isn't going to pack up and move to a compound in Colorado, what is the core takeaway here? What's the kernel of truth in the MVP method that applies to regular, everyday life?
I think the core takeaway is the massive mindset shift regarding maintenance. Whether you buy into the grand real estate vision or not, the most valued partner concept is a tool anyone can use today. It's about stripping away the dangerous assumption of permanence.
We just assume our spouses will always be there no matter what.
Right. In business, you never assume a major client is yours forever. You hustle, you provide consistent value, you schedule strategy meetings, you check in and ask, are we still aligned on our goals?
Whereas in a marriage, we tend to just coast. We think getting the ring is crossing the finish line.
The Stockhams are arguing that the ring is just signing the incorporation papers. The actual work starts the day after. If you treated your spouse with the exact same proactive energy and strategic foresight that you bring to your career, what would happen to your relationship?
You'd probably have a lot fewer petty fights about the dishwasher.
You definitely would, and you'd probably develop a shared vision. That's the other major lesson the 20-year roadmap teaches us. The Stockhams have a highly detailed, multi-decade plan for their organization. Do you have a 20-year plan for your family?
That's a heavy question. Most of us don't even have a 20-day plan.
And that's exactly where the drift happens in a marriage. If you don't have a target, you aim at nothing and you hit it every time. The sheer grandeur of the IAM Love Builders plan, the phases, the construction, the legacy, it's meant to inspire the couple to have a similarly grand vision for their own lives.
It's about being radically intentional.
Legacy doesn't happen by accident. You don't accidentally build a 100-acre ranch, and you certainly don't accidentally build a 50-year happy marriage.
Yeah.
Both require blueprints. Both require capital, emotional and otherwise, and both require intense daily labor.
It's a very industrial way to look at romance, but honestly, in a chaotic world, I can totally see the appeal. It offers a sense of control.
It offers structure, and for people who feel like their relationships and their assets are slipping through their fingers, a structure, even a rigid one, a literal village, can feel like a lifeline.
It's almost like they are saying the modern world won't support your marriage, so we just have to build a new world that will.
That is exactly it. It is world building as a defense mechanism for love.
So to recap the journey today, we have Casper and Cheryl Stockham taking their TV production polish, applying it to high-stakes marriage counseling for high-net-worth individuals, and using the success of that to fund a literal Kingdom campus and ranch.
It is an absolutely unique case study in how faith, business, and therapy can merge into something much, much bigger than the sum of its parts.
Whether you find the idea of a marriage village inspiring or maybe a little bit isolating, you really have to respect the scope of the ambition. They aren't thinking small.
No, they're playing a longest possible game.
And that leads me to the final thought I want to leave you with today. We spent this deep dive looking at a 20-year infrastructure plan for a marriage organization.
A massive, massive undertaking.
But the point that really sticks with me is that your relationship is a business in the most important sense of the word. It's an enterprise. It has precious assets, it has liabilities, and it definitely has a bottom line.
It's the most important enterprise you will ever run in your life.
So here's the question I want you to mull over. If you stop treating your personal relationships like a romantic comedy that just magically works out, and you started treating them with the strategic planning of a Fortune 500 company's 20-year expansion, what would your phase I look like today? What is the actual infrastructure you need to start building right now that will still be standing 20 years down the road?
That is a question that might save you a lot more than just money.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.